It was Cody Rhodes. This whole time, every shadow, every silhouette, every carefully obscured camera angle, every maddening moment of deliberate concealment that had the entire WWE universe losing their collective minds for months. It was Cody Rhodes standing in those shadows. The American Nightmare himself. The man who finished the story. The man who climbed to the absolute summit of professional wrestling and planted his flag at WrestleMania in front of the entire world. That man has been operating in the darkness, moving in secret, building towards something that nobody fully anticipated and that the WWE Universe was completely unprepared to witness. And when he finally stepped out of those shadows on SmackDown last night, not for himself, not for a championship, not for personal glory or revenge, but to save Randy Orton from the savage, calculated brutality of Drew McIntyre, the entire arena did not just erupt. It shattered. The roof did not come off that building because there was no roof left. Cody Rhodes had already blown it into the atmosphere the moment his music hit and his figure emerged from that entrance ramp with fire in his eyes and a purpose that transcended anything as simple as a storyline return. If you were not watching SmackDown last night, then you missed the single most important moment in WWE this entire year, and I need you to understand exactly why on Ring Rumble 1 right now, because this changes every single thing going forward and I am not going to let you sleep on it for even one more second. Let us go all the way back to the beginning because this mystery has been constructed with a patience and a precision that deserves to be fully appreciated now that the final piece has snapped into place and the complete picture is visible for the first time. Every clue that seemed too vague to be meaningful. Every shadow that seemed too deliberately framed to be accidental. Every moment where the production team made choices that in retrospect were not just stylistic decisions but carefully placed breadcrumbs designed to lead the most observant members of this audience toward a conclusion that the majority of us still managed to miss completely. The mystery man was always someone operating at the absolute highest level of this industry. Someone whose absence from the regular WWE programming landscape was conspicuous enough to be noticed but explainable enough through kayfabe narrative that the suspicion never fully crystallized into certainty. Someone with the motivation, the resources, the connections, and most critically the personal investment in the specific situation unfolding around Randy Orton to make their involvement emotionally coherent rather than simply dramatically convenient. Cody Rhodes checks every single one of those boxes in a way that feels simultaneously obvious in hindsight and genuinely surprising in the moment of revelation, which is the precise sweet spot that the best WWE mystery storytelling aims for and so rarely actually hits with this level of accuracy and impact. But before we go any deeper into the Cody revelation and everything it means for this company going forward, we need to talk about what was actually happening to Randy Orton on that SmackDown before the save. Because the context of what Drew McIntyre was doing to the Viper is absolutely essential to understanding why Cody Rhodes chose this specific moment to end months of shadows and silence and step back into the light. Drew McIntyre has been a problem on SmackDown in a way that has felt genuinely threatening rather than simply villainous in the pantomime sense that professional wrestling sometimes settles for when it lacks the creative courage to commit fully to real menace. Drew has been operating with a cold fury and a physical dominance that has made every segment he appears in feel genuinely dangerous, the kind of dangerous where you actually find yourself concerned for the well-being of the people sharing that ring or that backstage space with him. And Randy Orton, despite being one of the most cunning and experienced competitors this industry has ever produced, despite carrying decades of ring psychology and situational awareness that few people on this planet can match, had found himself in a position of genuine peril at Drew McIntyre's hands that was escalating rapidly towards something that felt less like a wrestling angle and more like a genuine assault. The Viper was being dismantled, methodically, brutally, with the specific, targeted malice of someone who was not simply trying to win a match or establish dominance but who was trying to send a message written in Randy Orton's pain and delivered to an audience that included every superstar watching from backstage. Drew McIntyre was making an example and Randy Orton was the canvas he had chosen for that statement. And that is precisely the moment, that specific, loaded, dramatically perfect moment of maximum crisis, that Cody Rhodes had been waiting for. Not just any moment. Not just an opportunity where his return would generate a reaction. The exact moment where his presence would mean the most, where the emotional stakes were highest, where stepping out of the shadows would be understood not just as a return but as a declaration of values and priorities and the kind of man Cody Rhodes fundamentally is underneath every championship and every accolade and every piece of carefully constructed public persona. Because here is what the return of Cody Rhodes to save Randy Orton communicates that goes far beyond the immediate dramatic situation on that Smackdown stage. It communicates that Cody Rhodes did not spend these months in the shadows building towards something for himself. He was not positioning himself for a title shot. He was not engineering the perfect circumstances for a personal comeback story with his own championship aspirations at the center. He was watching. He was waiting for a moment when someone he cares about, someone whose place in this industry he respects and values, was in genuine danger that required intervention from someone with the specific capabilities and the specific standing to actually make a difference. That selflessness, that willingness to sacrifice months of anonymity and careful positioning not for personal gain but for the protection of a colleague and friend, tells you something fundamental about who Cody Rhodes is as a character and why the WWE Universe connects with him on a level that transcends the normal relationship between wrestling fan and wrestling performer. Cody Rhodes does not just talk about being the embodiment of certain values. He demonstrates those values at personal cost when the circumstances demand it. And that authenticity, that consistency between stated identity and actual behavior when the pressure is real, is the rarest and most valuable quality in professional wrestling today. Now let us talk about Drew McIntyre's reaction to the Cody Rhodes reveal, because that reaction communicates everything about where this feud is headed and why it has the potential to be one of the most compelling rivalries WWE produces this year. Drew did not run. Drew did not retreat into the kind of cowardly villain behavior that would undercut the genuine menace he has been building for weeks and months. Drew McIntyre stood in that ring, looked at Cody Rhodes coming down that ramp, and something shifted in his expression that was more interesting and more dramatically rich than simple anger or simple fear. What flashed across Drew McIntyre's face in that moment was recognition. The recognition of someone who understands that the landscape of their conflict has just fundamentally changed, that the opponent now standing across from them represents a completely different category of challenge than anything they had previously been navigating, and that everything that comes next is going to require a level of escalation and commitment that even Drew McIntyre in his current form may not be fully prepared for. Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes is not just a match. It is not just a feud. It is a collision between two completely different philosophies about what professional wrestling is for, what the WWE Universe deserves, and what kind of man gets to stand at the top of this company and define its identity for the next generation of fans. Drew represents destruction for destruction's sake, the nihilistic conviction that power is its own justification and that the only thing that matters is the capacity to impose your will on everyone around you. Cody represents something diametrically opposed, the belief that the platform professional wrestling provides carries genuine responsibility, that the people in those seats and watching at home deserve a champion who means something beyond athletic achievement, that finishing the story is not just a personal accomplishment but a promise kept to an entire community of believers. Those two philosophies cannot coexist. One of them has to win. And the Smackdown confrontation last night was the moment that conflict was formally and irrevocably declared. And Randy Orton. Let us not lose sight of Randy Orton in the excitement of processing the Cody reveal, because the Viper's role in this developing situation is far more complex and far more interesting than simply being the person who needed saving last night. Randy Orton being saved by Cody Rhodes creates a dynamic between these two men that is layered with history and psychology and mutual respect, complicated by ego and competitive instinct in ways that could generate storyline richness far beyond the immediate Drew McIntyre conflict. Because Randy Orton does not process being saved the way a normal person processes being saved. The Viper's pride, his carefully maintained image as someone who does not need rescue from anyone under any circumstances, his complicated feelings about debt and obligation and what it means to owe someone something in this business, all of that is going to color every interaction between Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes going forward in ways that make their alliance simultaneously powerful and inherently unstable. Watch Randy Orton carefully in the coming weeks. Watch how he navigates the debt created by Cody's intervention. Watch whether the Viper's instincts toward self-preservation and personal advantage ultimately override whatever genuine gratitude he might feel toward the man who stepped out of the shadows to protect him. Because Randy Orton has never been a straightforward ally to anyone for very long, and Cody Rhodes would be wise to remember that even as he celebrates the success of his dramatic return. The implications of everything that happened on SmackDown last night ripple outward in every direction and touch every major storyline currently running in WWE in ways that are going to take weeks to fully map and understand. The mystery is solved. The American Nightmare is back in the light. Drew McIntyre has the opponent he was always destined to face. Randy Orton has a complication he did not ask for. And the entire WWE roster has been reminded that Cody Rhodes, even operating in secret, even stripped of championships and spotlight, is one of the 2 or 3 most significant forces this company has. That reminder matters. And what comes next is going to be unmissable. I need you in those comments immediately with your full, unfiltered, passionate reaction to Cody Rhodes being revealed as the mystery man on Smackdown. Did it shock you completely, or were there signs you caught along the way that you dismissed? How do you feel about Cody sacrificing his return moment for Randy Orton rather than making it about himself? And how does Drew McIntyre match up against a fully motivated, fully committed Cody Rhodes coming off months of patient preparation in the shadows? Share this video everywhere right now. Every WWE fan in every group chat needs to see this breakdown immediately, because Ringrumble 1 is giving you the most passionate and most honest analysis of this historic SmackDown moment available anywhere on the internet. Like this video. Subscribe to this channel. Turn on every notification, because this story is moving fast and we will be here covering every single development with everything we have got. Ringrumble 1. When the American Nightmare steps out of the shadows, we are always ready. Always.